Okay, welcome back to the session of finite element analysis. So today we are going to see about one-dimensional linear bar element. So with an illustration, we're going to see, we're going to solve one problem. So with this, you shall have a clear-cut idea in solving those problems just related to one-dimensional bar element. Okay. So let us start with the problem. So problem is actually, consider the bar element bar as shown in the figure. Okay, so the bar as shown in figure and axial load of P is equal to 200 into 10 power 3 Newton is acting, is applied as shown. Okay, so this is the problem. You are supposed to find A, determine the nodal displacement, and B, you are supposed to find the stress in each elements, and C, to find the reaction force. So this is the problem, and if you see the figure just shown here, so this is a bar element. This is actually a step bar, and both the ends are fixed. Both the ends are fixed. So like this, and length of the first step is actually 300 mm, and second step is 400 mm. This is A1. Let us consider this is A2. Area of the first bar, okay, which is equal to this 2400 mm square, and Young's modulus means it is made up of, I think it is a actually aluminum material, so that Young's modulus will be 70 into 10 power 9 Newton per meter square. So for the second, we'll get A2 is equal to actually 600 mm square, and Young's modulus of the second material, second step is actually steel, so that you will be getting 200 into 10 power 9 Newton per meter square. Okay, so this is what given in the problem. You are supposed to find modal displacement, stress, and the reaction force. Okay, so let us start how to deal with the problem. Okay, so as we discussed earlier, you have to you have to start with the step one called discretization, meaning that what do you mean by discretization? It's actually dividing the domain into a small quantity. How many entities are needed? How many small subdomains are needed here? So as I said, depending upon the shape and the material, we require two different subdomains. So that's why we are going to split into two different domains. Okay, two different subdomains otherwise. Okay, this is one such subdomain, and this is another subdomain. Okay, so we'll get two different kinds of elements. So now can specify the element number. So this is element number 1 and this is element number 2. Now we can specify the node numbers. Actually, so this is node number 1, this is node number 2, and this is node number 3. Okay. So you have to number the nodes according to based upon the minimum half bandwidth requirement actually. Okay, so that your storage is getting limited. Okay, that is what is called half bandwidth. So minimum half bandwidth is required, so that you will be reducing the space in the system. Okay. So, sorry. It's getting managed. Okay. So let me start with the step number 1. Please. Sorry. Okay, let me start with the step number 1. It is actually a discretization. So discreting the domains into small domains, so that we will be dividing the entire domain into 2 different subdomains. Okay, that means 2 different elements. So this entire domain has been divided into 2 different domains. Okay, what is step number 2? In earlier case, we will be having the finite element equations readily in our hand. So no need to worry about those things. Okay, no need to worry about those things. So that we can forget about all the derivations of the shape functions and the derivations of the stiffness matrix. Why? Because we'll be having the formula, so we don't need to worry about it. So straight away we will start with the step number 2 called formulation of. Formulation of. Step number 2 is formulation of finite element. Finite element equations. Step number 2 is formulation of finite element equations. Is that what? So we have to frame the finite element equations in this form. F is equal to K into D. Okay, K is nothing but the stiffness matrix, and D is nothing but this actually. K is nothing but this stiffness matrix. Stiffness matrix, and D is deflection, and F is force vector. This is force vector. So F is force vector, K is stiffness matrix, and D is deflection. Okay. And so let me start with the formulation of finite element analysis. So let us consider the first element. Okay, if you look after the first element, so this is the first element. This is element number 1, which is having 2 end nodes. It is having 2 end nodes. That is why it is called as linear Bohr element. Okay, so let us consider the first element, which is having 2 nodes. It's having 2 nodes. Okay, and what is the element equations for that? F1, force at node number 1. F2, force at node number 2 must be equal to the formula for the stiffness matrix is equal to A1 E1 by L1. Why? Because we're going to form the element equations for the first element. For the first element. Okay, the formula is A1 E1 divided by L1 into 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. So this is what the formula for stiffness matrix. Multiply the deflection. This indicates the deflection on first node. U2 is deflection on the second node. Okay. And you can put the node numbering scheme like this. This indicates the global coordinate number. Global coordinate number 1 and 2. Okay. And so if you substitute the value for A1, what is the value of A1 here? Okay, if you see the value of A1 is equal to 2400 and E1 is equal to 70 into 10 power 9 Newton per meter square. So if you convert it into Newton per mm square, we'll be having 70 into 10 power 3 Newton per mm square. 70 into 10 power 3 Newton per mm square. So that you'll be having 70 into A1 is equal to 2400 into 70 into 10 power 3 Newton per mm square. There will be total length would be around this 300. Okay, multiply by 1 minus 1 minus 1 1 into U1 and U2 diffraction. Okay, so here we'll be having F1 and F2. You won't bother about the force vectors and deflections and all. So we have to concentrate only on the stiffness matrix. So simplify the stiffness matrix. Why we need to assemble all those things in the next step. Okay. So this is what if you simplify this equation, ultimately you will get the value of 56 into 10 power 4 into 1 minus 1 minus 1 1 multiply by U1 and E2. Okay, U1 and E2. U1 and U2. So this is what one. You can put it in the small letter. F1 and F2. Small letters indicates the for local vectors, I mean for the elements, and global vector indicates the capital letter. Okay, this is the element equation number 1. So if you consider the element number 2, okay, the node numbers are actually 2 and 3. Global node numbers are 2 and 3. Okay. So if you formulate the finite element equation for the node number 2, you'll be getting F2 and F3. F2 and F3 must be equal to, again, A2 into E2 divided by L2 into 1 minus 1 minus 1 1 into, here it is U2 and U3. Why because we'll be having node number 2 and node number 3. Okay, U2 and U3. Global numbering scheme, global coordinate system. Okay, this indicates 2 and 3 here. You just put 2 and 3 over the matrix. Okay. And next, and if you substitute the values for A2, E2, and L2, what is A2? So A2 is equal to actually 600 mm square. E2 is equal to 200 into 10 power 9 Newton per mm square. So if you simplify the equation, you will get equation F2, F3 will be equal to A2. Value of A2 is equal to 600 mm square multiplied by 200 into 10 power 3 Newton per mm square. If you convert the 200 into 10 power 9 Newton per meter square into mm square, we are getting 200 into 10 power 3 Newton per mm square. divided by total length is actually 400 mm. A to A2 divided by L2. Okay. And again, the surface matrix 1 minus 1 minus 1 1 multiply by U2 and U3. This is, so if we simplify further, you get 30 into 10 power 4. Again, you'll get 1 minus 1 minus 1 1 multiply by U2 and U3 here. Okay. And next, in step number 3, you are supposed to assemble those element coordinates, those element equations to form the global equations. Otherwise, global stiffness matrix, otherwise we can say it is global equation. Global equation, or else we can say it is global stiffness matrix. Okay, global stiffness matrix or global equations. Okay, you have to assemble everything. So what is the procedure in assembling? So this is actually exact element. So this is node 1, 2, 3 node numbers, and we will be having 2 different elements. Okay. So in case of global stiffness matrix, you have to consider as a whole instead of having a single elements. Okay, so that how many nodes are will be having? Totally will be having 3 nodes. So put F1 for, put it the capital letter. Okay, F1 force in the first node, F2 force in the second node, F3 force in the third node. Okay, is equal to, what you have to do is you have to assemble both the matrix. You have to assemble both the matrix. Okay, you just put empty matrix here. What could be the size of the stiffness matrix? As we discussed earlier, the total number of degree of freedoms are here. It is actually 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. We are having 3 nodes, and each node contains a single degree of freedom. So totally we'll be having 3 degree of freedoms. Okay, then the size of the stiffness matrix will be 3 by 3. We'll be having 3 by 3. Okay, just put it here, 1 global coordinate system, 1, 2, and 3 here. Right. Similarly, you can put the multiply by U1, U2, and U3 here. Okay. Otherwise, simply we can say at node number 2, will the both the element sharing the common nodes called node number 2. Okay, both the elements 1 and 2 are sharing the common nodes, node number 2. So in node number 2, simply we can say, you can put like this, 1, 2, 3 like this. Okay, so if you go there in the element stiffness matrix, you have to fill the component 1, 1. Okay, you have to fill the component 1, 1. Okay, so this is the first element. So this is actually 1, 1. Okay, this is 1. So this is 1, this is 2. Otherwise, this is 1, this is 2. So in 1, 1, you'll be having 56 into 10 power 4. Otherwise, you can include the 56 term here. You take 10 power 4 common, which is in both the sides. You just multiply it by 56. You'll be having 56 minus 56 here, minus 56 and plus 56. Okay, you'll be having common value, so we can multiply it inside. Okay, so that we'll be having 56 minus 56, 56 and 56. Okay, so in 1, 1 column we'll be having 56. We just fill this in here. So in 1, 1 column we'll be having 56. Okay, in 2, 1 column, what you're having in 2, 1 column will be having minus 56. We're having minus 56. Okay, in 3, 1 column we don't have anything. Okay, so because here we'll be having only, here it is 2, it is 3, it is 2, it is 3. We don't have any 3, 1 columns, so you can put it 0 here. So what is the typical characteristics of stiffness matrix? Actually, it is a symmetrical one. Okay, it has a symmetrical property. So a symmetrical property means 1 2 1 2 column is equal to 2 1 column, so that you will be having the same value of minus 56 here, minus 56 here. In 2 2, as I said, in 2 2 it has been shared by the both the elements. Otherwise, simply we can say we'll be having two values in 2 2. Here you'll be having a 30. Okay, you just input 30 here, you put 30 here, and here it is minus 30. It is minus 30 plus 30 here. Okay, so in 2 2 column we'll be having 30 here, and here you'll be having 56 here. Okay, minus 50, I mean, sorry, 2 2, here it is 56 here. Here it is having 52, we'll be having 52, another 52 in the, I mean, another 30 in the second element. So totally we'll be having 50 plus 56 plus 30. So totally you'll be having 86. Okay, means that what? 30 plus 56. So put together we'll be having 86. Okay, again in the 3 2 column we'll be having minus 30. Again 1 3 is equal to 3, I mean 3 1, so that we'll be having 0 here. 2 3 is equal to 3 2 here, minus 30, we'll be having the same value, minus 30. You can cross check it. 2 3 value here, it is minus 30. So similarly 3 3 we'll be having plus 30, plus 30. Okay, so this is the step number 3. In step number 4, what we need to do is we need to apply a boundary condition. Okay, we need to apply a boundary condition. Step number 4 is to apply boundary condition. Apply boundary condition. Step number 4. So here we'll be having f1. We don't know the value. In node number 2, we have the value of, I mean, here actually here a force is acting here. Okay, force is acting in the node number 2. What is the value of force? It is actually 200 into 10 power 3. So at node number 2, the force, the value of 200 into 10 power 3 is acting, so that you can put the value of, I mean, f2. Okay, this is f1, f2 values 200 into 10 power 3, and value of f3 you can put as it is, because we don't know the value. It is actually a reaction. Okay, so here you can take 10 power 4 as a common. Okay, so it will 10 power 4 as a common, multiply by 10 power 4 here, 10 power 4 as a common, and remaining thing you just copy it. Okay, so we'll be having one column will be having 56, we have 56 and minus 56, 0 here, again minus 56, here we'll be having 86, here we'll be having minus 30, I think. Here it is 0, here it is minus 30, and here it is plus 30. And multiply by u1 and u2 and u3. Okay, u1, u2, and u3. So if you see the boundary conditions here, okay, so both node number 1 and node number 3 are arrested. Okay, that's been fixed actually. In case the end has been fixed, there won't be any deflection at all on these nodes. Okay, simply we can say u1 is equal to u3 is equal to 0. There won't be any deflection over that. Okay, so that if there is 0, if the deflection is 0, corresponding row and column can be eliminated. Okay, so corresponding row and column, the first row and first column can be eliminated since u1 is equal to 0, and third column and third row can be eliminated since u3 is equal to 0. Okay, similarly we can eliminate f3 as well. Okay, and in step number 4 and in the step number 5, you need to find the primary unknown. Step number 5. 5 is to find primary unknown. Primary unknown here, it is what? It is actually diffraction. So you won't be having with the top. Okay. Primary unknown. Primary unknown here. So if you simplify this equation, you'll be getting only 86 into 10 power 4. So 86 into 10 power 4 U2 must be equal to 200 into 10 power 3. 200 into 10 power 3. If you simplify this equation, you'll get the value of U2 is equal to how much? Is actually it is coming around 0.232 mm. So this is what the deflection at the node number 2. What it indicates, if you apply the load of 200 into 10 power 3 Newton at the center, I mean at the node number 2, you'll get the maximum deflection of 0.232 at this point. Okay. What about the deflection at 1 and 3? There won't be any deflection at 1 and 3. Why? Because the end has been fixed. Okay. And in step number 6, you are supposed to find the secondary unknowns. What is the secondary unknown here? It is stress value. You're supposed to find secondary unknowns. The secondary unknown value here is actually finding the stress in element number 1 and element number 2. Okay, stress in element 1. So what is the formula is sigma 1 is equal to actually E into B into U. B is nothing but strain displacement matrix. Already we have discussed. Okay. So E into B into U. This is the formula for finding out the stress. So if you consider the stress in the first element, what is the value of here? It is we are supposed to find E1 into what is B here? B is equal to du by dN1 by dN1 by du actually. Okay, so dN1 by dx, and you will getting the value of 1 by L and minus 1 by L. Okay, why? Because N1 is equal to 1 minus x by L, right? Sorry, N2 is equal to we'll get x by L. Okay, so here we'll get plus, here we'll get minus. Okay, minus 1 by L plus 1 by L. So if you differentiate this term, dou N1 by dou x is equal to minus 1 by L, and dou N2 by dou x is equal to what? Plus 1 by L. Okay, that is what here. So here you have to substitute dou N1 by dou x and dou N2 by dou x. Multiply by U1 and U2. Okay. So what is the value of E1? It is 70 into 10 power 3 minus what is the value of total length of the first element. Actually, you have to put L1 here. What is the first element? First element length, it is actually 300 mm. Minus 1 by 300 plus 1 by 300 multiply by, here you will get what is the value of U1? It is 0. What is the value of U2? Already we have found out it is 0.232. So from the known deflection, you are supposed to find the stress value. So if you multiply this equation, if you simplify this equation, you get this stress value sigma 1 as actually 51.4 Newton per mm square. So this is the stress induced in the first element. Okay. Similarly, if you find the stress induced in the second element, similarly, E into E2 actually E2 into B into U, okay, or D you talk about. So what is the value of E2 here? E2 is equal to 200 into 10 power 3 Newton per mm square. And B, actually for B, This is 2. This is 3. Okay. This is N2 and N3 that to put. So here N2 is equal to what? 1 minus x by L. And N3 is equal to x by L. Okay. So similarly, if you put dou N2 by dou x minus 1 by L, and dou N3 by dou x is equal to plus 1 by L. Okay. So substitute this value here, and you will get minus 1 by L2 actually. Speaking, this actually L2. What is the total length of the second element? It is actually 400 mm. So minus 400 and plus 400. This is actually a row matrix. This is a row matrix multiplied by U2 and U3. U2 and U3. Okay. So apply the value U2 and U3 here. So 200 into 10 power 3 minus 1 by 400. So plus 1 by 400. It is 400 plus 1 by 400 multiply by what is the value of U2? It is 0.232. We have calculated. U3 value is 0. Okay, so if you simplify this equation, and you will get the value of sigma 2, which indicates the minus value. Minus value means it indicates a compressive force which is acting. Okay. The above case will be having tensile force in the first element. Here it is compressive force in the second element. Okay, and you get the value of stress, the second element. So you get minus 116 Newton per mm square. Okay, so this is the value of stress which is acting in the second element, okay, which indicates a compressive. Okay, next to find the reaction. To find reaction. That means what? F1 and F3. Okay. So whenever you apply the force at the center, wherever the end is being fixed, the reaction will takes place at both the fixed end. So that's why to find the reaction, how to find the reaction at both the end. So let us calculate. Okay. So we know the unknown value is actually F1. F2 is equal to 200 into 10 power 3. We are supposed to find F3 here. F1 and F3 are unknown here. F1 and F3 are unknown here. Is equal to, we know the stiffness matrix, 10 power 4 into 56 minus 56, 0 minus 56, 0 here. Here we have 86, here is minus 30, here minus 30 and plus 30 here. Okay. So multiply by U1 is actually 0, U2 is 0.232, but you have calculated. So you have to back substitute, that's it. You have to back substitute. So it is U3 is also 0. Okay. And if you simplify this equation, if you multiply it, okay, you will get F1 as, you get the F1 as F1 is equal to, so 56 into 10 power 3 into 56 into 0, 0, 0 into 0, 0 you will get, only you will be getting the value of minus 56 into 10 power 4 into 0.232. F1 is equal to what? Minus 56 into 10 power 4 into 0.232. So ultimately we'll be having F1 value as 3. Minus 129 into 10 power 3 Newton, 129 10 power 3 newtons. Okay. Similarly, if you calculate the value of F3 here, F3, it will 0 into 0, 0, minus 30 into 10 power 4 into 0.232. Ultimately, you will get the value of minus 69 into 10 power 3 Newton. So if you sum up both this value, what you will get? You will get around 199. Around 199 into 10 power 3 Newton. Okay, what is the applied value? It is actually 200 mm. So almost the applied, it must be, the reaction must be almost equal to the applied load. So that is what it indicates. Okay. Okay, this is how you have to proceed with one-dimensional bar element. This is actually a simple case. So we can also solve with various different kinds of a problem. If it is a taper case. Okay, so we'll deal with it later. Thank you.